Hello dear students, a very good morning to you all. As you know, in the last two classes, I had been explaining to you the third chapter of your English CB book. The title of the chapter is, as you know, is Making Friends, right? Already I explained the first three scenes of the drama. In these scenes, we met with a few characters like Meg, Joe, Laurie, the maid, etc. And we have also heard the names of some other characters like Beth, Amy, their mother, Laurie's grandpa, etc. In scene 3, we have seen Joe coming to Laurie's house and have a nice conversation with Laurie. Towards the end of the scene, the third scene, we saw that Laurie is leading Joe to their library. He also told her that Joe need not be afraid, as their grandpa was not at home at that time. So here the third scene ends, right? Now let's start the scene 4. Open your book at page number 20. So scene 4. The curtains rise to a library scene in the Lawrence house. The room is lined with books, and there are pictures and statues and distracting little cabinets full of coins and curiosities. On the wall is a portrait of a handsome, stern-faced elderly man. A maid walks in. So when the scene starts, it's the picture of the stage. The curtain rise. You know, when the before the play or the drama starts, the stage is covered with a curtain. The curtain rises, and then on the stage these things are visible. Library is there, lined with room lined with books, and pictures and statues are there, distracting little cabinets were there, full of coins and curiosities. So unusual things are there that raised a curiosity, inquisitiveness to know something, to learn something about. And on the wall is a portrait. Portrait means there is a painting or picture of a handsome, stern-faced elderly man. Stern means rough, angry face of elderly man. Portrait is there. A maid walks in, and then a maid enters to the stage. Maid, the doctor to see you, sir. So the maid addressed to Laurie, and she has told that doctor has come to see him. Laurie walks away, and Joe is left standing before the portrait of the old gentleman. So she is left alone in the library, and by that time, since the doctor has come, so Laurie has gone away from there, and she is standing in front of the portrait, okay, of the old gentleman. The door opens and someone walks in. So since she is at the very moment she was looking at the portrait, very means minutely she is observing the portrait, and then at the very moment someone enters, walks in. It is an old gentleman in the painting. He is dressed in an elegant suit and seems surprised to see a young girl in the room. So who enters? The old man in the painting means has entered into the room, and the person, he is well dressed, elegant dressed suit, and seems surprised. He is surprised to see a girl in the room, but before he can say anything to Joe begins. So what happens? Joe was totally unaware that some other person has entered to the room. Perhaps he thought that maybe it was Laurie only. So before he start speaking something, she started. Jo begins speaking, and that moment she did not even look behind who was standing or who entered. Jo, I'm sure now that I shouldn't be afraid of him, because we got towards the end of the third scene that Jo told Laurie told Jo that she should not be afraid of his grandpa. Now that's why while Jo started speaking about the portrait, about the person in the portrait, she just told that I am sure that I should not be afraid of him, for he has got kind eyes. The eyes that your grandpa has is full of kindness, though his mouth is grim. But his mouth is very serious, or seems to be sad, gloomy. Okay, grim means. And he looks as if he has a tremendous will. So just looking at the portrait, picture, I feel that person must have strong willpower, tremendous will, strong willpower. He is not as handsome as my grandfather, but I like him. So Jo told that his grandfather is not as handsome as her grandfather, but still she liked Laurie's grandfather, in a gruff voice, rough, low tone, gruff. Okay, in a rough voice, low tone, he spoke. Thank you, ma'am. So he spoke after listening everything from Jo. He said that, thank you, ma'am. Jo gives a sequel of dismay. So what is sequel of dismay? Cry of alarm. Okay, and wheels around, her hand clapped to her mouth as she stares at old Mr. Lawrence. So, having heard actually the voice of another person, she became a little bit alert. So she understood that it was definitely not Laurie talking to her, and so she was actually shocked, and she whirls means turns back, turns behind, and her hand clapped to her. So this is the expression of surprise. Her hand clapped to her mouth as she stares at old Mr. Lawrence. She found that Mr. Lawrence was standing behind her. Lawrence is the grandpa of Laurie, about whom she has, just now he spoke about the picture, the portrait, and the portrait was of that person of Laurie's grandpa. So she's surprised, she's shocked, and she clapped to her hand clapped to her mouth. Surprised as she stares at old Mr. Lawrence. She started looking at him, stare. Curtain falls. So here the scene ends, and here the chapter also comes to an end. So I hope you understood. Thank you.